My guest today is someone I've known for many years and has been a great blessing in my life. Her name is Candi Isom, and she happens to be my very long-term massage therapist. And I was introduced to massage through my late husband, Steve, who it was suggested to him after his wife passed away that he go and have regular massages. And I think for most people, before they have become someone who gets massages regularly, it sounds like kind of a spa treatment, cucumber slices on your eyes, very esoteric kind of thing. But before long, you start to see that it can be a real blessing to overall mental, physical, even spiritual health. And so my therapist, Candi, has graciously agreed to spend some time. She is not only so gifted in the healing arts, she also has her own story of loss and grief. And I've asked her to share that as well, and her perspectives about how physical touch can be such an important part of healing after a loss or during times of great distress or grief. So, Candi, please take it from there and introduce yourself a little life sketch.
Thank you, Julie. I so appreciate you asking me to come on and just give a little bit of a talk and share my testimony and my story with you. I appreciate that. So, I am the eldest of three children, which makes me very organized, very timely, and a list maker. I've been married for 26 years and I have two children. My eldest is my son, and my youngest is my daughter. Um, and really, I was drawn to massage because I had received it for quite a number of years. And it was actually a therapist that suggested that I fit the profile for someone who'd do well in that area. So that's kind of how I got my start.
That's great. I'm so glad you did it because you really have a healer's heart, not just healer's hands. So, can you share a little bit about your mom? Because I know that that is a grief experience that you've had in your life that connects you to others who are mourning the loss of someone.
Absolutely. So it was interesting in my early practice. I kind of think you attract what you need a little when you need it, as far as anybody who is in a caregiving situation. And early in my practice, I did not have a lot of experience with loss. My clients hadn't lost people, I hadn't lost anyone. And so it was this area that I was just really unfamiliar with. And in 2012, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a quick moving cancer. So, where some people have time to prepare, maybe, or just can see something coming, um, I had just had my second child. So I just kind of expected my mom to be there through all of that. And it was shocking when they basically said, well, in, 6 weeks, she's going to be gone. And I didn't have a lot to lean on as far as my knowledge base in that area. So I love the one of your podcasts, someone mentioned that a lot of times people will refer to it as a club. And I agree with you. At first, they're like, hey, you're in the club, we've lost parents early. And I agree with you. I don't like that term. I don't love that. I would rather think of it as a community, because really that's when I started to see people come out of my life that had lost a parent early and come up alongside me. So I like the idea that you're part of a community of support rather than just you're in the club now and you have this stamp.
Right. That yes, exactly. Who who did you find kind of came out of the woodwork? Were you surprised at the people that were supportive of you or not surprised?
I think until the loss of my mom, it was kind of this abstract thought. Like, I had known people who had lost parents. I knew some people who had lost a child, but it was abstract to me. And I won't say foreign because you can have compassion for somebody, but it just didn't hit as personally. And so the people that had already lost a parent younger in life that would, they were the ones that really came up beside me and just said, it's okay. I'm a little ahead of you in this and it works out and it'll be okay. And it was so comforting, like at Mother's Day
Mm.
or, those first holidays are hard, hard, hard holidays to get through. And to have somebody just come alongside you and say, I understand what you're going through, and just give you that hug that you need, that you wish your parent was there to give you. Um, that was really such a blessing to me to have those people. And they weren't even necessarily these great friends that I was super close to. It was just that understanding that we all had of walking through that process of life.
It makes me think of like suddenly being dropped down into a foreign country and you're trying to learn the language and you have other people that they're already more fluent and
Absolutely.
they come in.
Yes. Yes, that is a great metaphor. It is. It really is. It's just they can come along and understand because they've been there too.
Yeah. Yeah. They're a little more fluent in the experiences and feelings that you're having.
Mhm.
Well,
Definitely.
so going back a little bit, tell me about your mom. What do you love about her?
Oh my gosh. Her heart, Julie, was just amazing. She she would volunteer. She would give. She was very active in her church. She was a Sunday school teacher for many, many years. And that's just who she was. She went out of her way to do things for people. And she had a really great ability to give gifts.
Hmm.
And it was kind of this amazing thing to watch her be able to gift somebody something that you could tell they were going to treasure. And so one of my favorite memories of her for Christmas, she had kept this ratty old Santa letter that I had written with misspelled words and my brother and sister and what they wanted and how good we'd been. And she had taken wrapping paper and a couple of my ornaments that I had made at kindergarten. And she framed that and gave that to me at Christmas. And it meant so much that she had held on to that little piece of my childhood that I kind of had let go.
Yeah.
And the next Christmas, she had gifted my siblings and I a picture of us and our cousins. All of us were the same picture, but we were all opening gifts at Christmas. And so I still take that out at Christmas. And I have this wonderful memory of, my smaller brother's sitting in my lap and my sister sitting beside me and my cousins are around me and we're all opening gifts and just this wonderment that we all had at that age. And she just really knew how to speak to somebody's heart through gift giving.
Yeah, it sounds like that. It sounds like she captured this magical moment and then returned it to you years later.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's really, really wonderful. That's really sweet. Um, you you restarted receiving massages a long time ago. How did that come about for you?
So, believe it or not, um, when I was extremely young and in much better shape, I worked on a farm.
Okay.
And so I
Okay.
did a lot of manual labor. And it was actually something that my now husband, who I was dating at the time, he received chiropractic care for his back and occasionally would go in for a massage. And so that was just something he said, look, if you're going to work this hard, you need to take care of your body because this is the one that you get to live life in. So starting something this hard at such a young age, you need to do this occasionally. And so I just had kind of already made it a priority, but I didn't realize later how important it would be, not just for the aspect of taking care of my physical being, but my mental and emotional state as well.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So if you can find a good practitioner, and I tell everyone, there's no one practitioner that can satisfy everyone. That's why there's a lot of massage therapists. So if you don't connect with somebody, keep trying, don't give up, because you will find that right fit. And when you do, this is a person who is attentively caring for your needs for the entire time that you have with them. And they can sometimes understand what you're going through, where other people, it's like that. I said that abstract, we haven't been there before.
Mhm.
So to be able to go in for an hour, and whether I needed to just be quiet and just have an hour away to just kind of check out, or to go in for an hour and be able to just say all those things you want to say, but also know that person is never going to be in that circle in your life to either ask you. I mean, you could just say, oh, this person means well, but it's so bothersome that they're doing this, or wow, I really wish this other person would do it. And it doesn't go any further than that. It stays in that room.
Mm.
And so it's a nice way to just kind of go through that verbal decompression that you sometimes need.
It's funny because so many times when I have come in to see you, it hasn't just been a physical therapy session, right? Where it's like being in therapy, and just in that hyper relaxed state. I know there have been times when we've talked out things, talked through problems, and the answer just kind of floats in the air. you know.
Most of the time my clients already have their answer. It's pulling it out of the weeds. It's that self-doubt that they'll have, like, I think and I thought, but if you just allow them to keep processing through that, they'll usually end up right where they need to be.
Yeah, I can remember when I first started getting massage. Sometimes when you're there as the client, you're not really sure what to do. Do you say anything? Do you not say anything? If they talk to you, do you talk back? Do you talk to them? And I mean, I'm at the point now where um, I can very I can tell if I need to talk because I want to talk through something, or sometimes I'll say, okay, I just need to disappear, and then
Yes,
you're just like just silent.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a good practitioner will always give you permission to do either. So that's something you're really looking for. If this is an avenue of therapy you want to explore, a good practitioner will go off of your lead. They may ask a couple of questions, and then if you're talking, they may ask a small follow-up question, just so you know they're listening and they're not ignoring you.
Hmm.
But if you get quiet, the practitioner will get quiet. And that's really a good mark of someone who's there to care for you. We always take our lead from our clients, because if you come in and you're in horrible traffic and you've had, maybe you're having a great day, but you have an appointment and you got stuck at a train and you're in bad traffic and you're frustrated and now you feel like you're late, you can't just lay down and relax. You
Hmm.
need a little bit of someone's going, that's fine. Everybody gets stuck at trains. Yes, traffic was horrible. There's that construction down the road. But then if you can kind of get that out of the way, then you can settle in and really get a little bit of peace
Hmm.
amidst all of that. So,
You're really good about that because I'm late a lot, and I'll come, I'll come flying in the door, and you're really good about just just calming the moment and saying it's good, you're fine, we're not in a hurry, and pretty soon I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm here to relax.
yep, this isn't just a box we're going to check off today. We're going to stop and enjoy this for a moment.
So, how do you think massage benefits someone who is grieving?
So I I have been able to treat several people now that have gone through the grieving process, either with spouses or losing their parents and walking through that with them. And it's been all over as far as timeline. Some of them are, you know, unexpected. Some of them are a long time coming. So I've been able to kind of watch how that all plays out. But the couple points that I think are really important. One, when you're going to a massage therapy session, the therapist does not expect you to have on perfect makeup, wonderful hair, be dressed in a way that's maybe even appropriate for the grocery store.
Hmm.
If you come in sweats and you can just barely get there, that's it. You just have to walk from your car into that studio. And so going through the grieving process, letting people know that it's okay to just show up. Sometimes it's hard to just get up and take a shower.
Hmm.
And this is a fabulous appointment. This isn't going to the grocery store where you might run into somebody who maybe hasn't heard or maybe doesn't know even what to say, because you get those kind of awkward situations where you can tell they're avoiding you or going out of their way a little too much. So for me, I like the idea of being able to go somewhere where there's not going to be this expectation. Your expectation is just to come. That's it.
Right.
Just
Right.
show up.
Yeah. That's that is perfect. Yeah. That is so true. I remember the first massage I had after Steve passed away, and I was definitely looking forward to just coming because it's something that I've done for so many years now. And again, Steve's the one that introduced me to it, and I I was surprised how much I needed to just lay down on that table, and I think I cried. I'm sure I cried.
I have a lot of people that's one of the times where they feel like I can just sit and cry.
Hmm.
And I think part of that in the early grieving process, there's all of these protocols and there's the business side of it. And if you're left handling that, you have to kind of, pull your boots up and trudge through. And some days that is so difficult to do and just, well, now I have to make this decision and now I have to make this decision and this has a timeline and this has a deadline. And so just to be able to show up somewhere and just be there and cry and have someone attentive to you to schedule that in for yourself mentally is so important because you don't want to not have those feelings. You need to walk through that part of it too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's. Do you have any personal experiences when when your mom passed away? Did you seek out any kind of positive self care?
Because of my background, I knew it was important.
Mm,
So it's kind of like um, just understanding whatever your practice or your business is, you have a deeper understanding of how that affects people. And so I knew from the start that after she was diagnosed and stress was really high for about 4 weeks because we were trying to say our goodbyes and wrap a lot of things up. Um, I was very intentional about taking at least an hour a week to myself. So that could be a long bath, the candle. I was getting massage. I would have a pedicure and just go and put my headphones in and just be away from the actual business side of it. And then afterwards, I really think that helped me. Like I said, just, okay, I got to get up today. I have this thing I need to go do. And it's not a terrible thing. It's actually a really wonderful thing
mhm,
that I get to go do. So
mhm.
having that kind of in place I'm not signing documents or meeting with people or doing that side of it. But it's like, no, I actually get to go have some self care and take some time out for me. So that was good just to keep that going.
I appreciate that, especially because you are coming at it, like you said, your background taught you that this was important, but you also were able to experience it personally from having your own grief. And it's interesting. Something that I thought about was right after Steve passed away, so many people asked me if I wanted to go on a walk, and which is a wonderful thing, right? Wonderful
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
But it's interesting. Um, I didn't at first want to go on walks because I didn't want to walk and talk. I really didn't want to talk about my feelings. I was having them constantly. I didn't really want to explore or talk about them. But I think it was fortunate for me that I already had this, I had this regular massage appointment. And so it was already part of my normal um, life. And that was a place where I think that was something that was so helpful because I could talk if I wanted, but I didn't have to talk and I could just be quiet. And and my I mean, the stress has to build up in your body, right? It has to like chemically build up inside your muscles, and to be able to have that all just kind of smoothed out, flushed away, quieted down. Um, that was a real blessing for me. But again, it's because I already had it in place, and I wonder if that. I mean, wouldn't that be one way if you knew somebody who was grieving? It's not something they might think to do for themselves, but don't you think that would be a great gift to give someone if you're thinking, I want to connect and show that I care? Why not a gift certificate somewhere for a massage? What do you
Absolutely.
think?
Absolutely. Well, and for sure, because here's exactly what you're describing. When you're going through that grieving process, you are already overwhelmed. You are so overwhelmed emotionally, physically. A lot of people eat too much or don't eat at all. So your body's in this fight or flight. So to have people say, well, I want to take you to lunch. I want to go for a walk. It is wonderful and is such a blessing as that is. And you do need that. Some days it's everything you can do to just manage yourself, and you just can't meet that person's energy because you're not there.
Yeah. That's a very good way. That's a good way to phrase it too. Not being able to meet another person's energy, even though their intentions are super good and would never discourage somebody from inviting someone to lunch or to go for a walk or any of those things. But this offers another option, I think.
It does. And you'll go through periods where you'll go through different times where some days you can go for a walk, some days you can get up and go to the store and you're functioning pretty normally. And then other days, something comes up where that is really triggering, and just that in of itself is enough. And so I would encourage those of you who are reaching out to somebody grieving, don't stop asking them how they're doing. Don't stop trying to get them to engage, but have an enormous, overwhelming amount of grace when they say no, because it's no for today. It's not no tomorrow. It's not no the next day. It's just no for today, because today, maybe today is the day that I'm supposed to sit down and meet and go over something that my spouse was in charge of. And now I'm trying to learn it. And when I come away from that, I am not going to want to go on a walk or go out to lunch, I'm just going to want to go home. And that's it, because that was enough. So just to have that overwhelming grace when you're reaching out to somebody, um, don't stop, keep trying. We need that touch point. We need those people in our lives. Hey, are you okay? Hey, is there anything I can do for you? Hey, I have this extra, batch of cookies that I baked. Can I drop them by? And maybe dinner came with it. Well, look at that. I just happened to have this entire dinner when I dropped off your cookies. But also understand that withdrawing isn't necessarily withdrawing from you. It's self-preservation because they're overwhelmed that day.
Right. That's right. That's right. Again, it goes back to the phrase that you used earlier about meeting another person's energy. It's amazing how hard that can be, and I think when you've been through grief or loss, or just have a naturally empathetic, type of personality, you can kind of see that, where if you haven't, been through an experience like that, you might not even recognize that there's a difference in the energy level.
Absolutely. And there's a time period. I remember when my mom passed, there was a time period for me where I felt out of sync because it seemed like everybody else was just kind of on this different level. Like, well, you could get up and go to work and you just did it. And these people are just going, to the store and buying groceries. And it was like life was moving faster than I was at that time. And so once in a while I could dip my toes in that, but it was like a rushing stream. It's like everybody else kept moving and I was kind of frozen in this stuff and this ick of missing my mom and all of these unrealized things, you know, talking about triggers and things like that. It's all of the things that come along that you're like, "Oh, I I thought she was going to be there for this." And that's where that well up comes from is, the first time my daughter walked, she wasn't there for that. And my son's getting ready to take driver's ed and she's not going to be able to tell these stories about her kids and, oh, I remember driver's ed and all this richness that I feel like, so it's almost like an unrecognized loss,
Mm-hmm.
and you're processing that and it seems like everyone else is just swiftly going by. And so it gets better with time. You still have those moments where you miss your, spouse or your loved one incredibly, and it's usually in that time when you want to share something with them and you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't go away, but it does ebb and flow differently. But at first, I just remember thinking, I just wanted to yell, would everybody just slow down and let me catch up?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think you're describing it perfectly. It feels like life is going along this super fast moving stream. And yeah, you want to put a dam there and say, hold on, hold on. I know you're all, just going to work right now and in regular traffic, but my life has fallen apart, right?
Yes,
I,
yes, I'm stuck at home. I'm still in the driveway. And
yes,
I feel like I can't even pull out of the driveway today and try to merge into that
right,
lane. So
right, right. Exact. So again, um, any opportunities, any ways to gently and lovingly maybe sit in the passenger seat of that person who's stuck in the driveway. Just that little bit of let's move just a little bit. Let's eat just a little bit, right? Let's
mhm,
drink just a little bit. Let's exercise just a little bit. Those little pieces um, are just as important as being able to talk to somebody on the phone, and
for sure. That's where a good practitioner really can dial that in. They're going to see They're going to see if you're dehydrated. It shows up in your skin, it shows up in your muscle tone. They're going to see, the difference in your body. They're going to be able to feel that tension and where you're holding it. And a good practitioner can just ask some really great questions like, when was the last time you had a good meal, not just a snack? And recognizing that oftentimes when you're grieving in that first really acute phase of grieving, you're in fight or flight.
Mhm.
So you are definitely, exhibiting all those signs of fight or flight. And part of getting the body out of fight or flight, if you feel like, well, mentally I'm doing pretty good, like I'm checking all the boxes, I'm getting up in the morning and I'm doing the things. But your body can still be in fight or flight, which affects your digestion, your mood. Your body is going to hold that stress. And a practitioner can tell if you've been drinking enough water, if you're looking dehydrated. They can ask great questions and just bringing your awareness to what's going on, because your body in fight or flight, it's not going to be thirsty. It's not going to be hungry. You're going to have about a 30% tension everywhere because you're ready to do battle. But
Mhm.
it's this emotional state that you're in. And so to get your body out of that state and just be able to take some deep breaths and have that part, because and you've been working with me long enough to know I do relaxation, but I also go after problems. But a good practitioner will know when your client needs
That's
what.
true. That's true.
So
Yeah, that's really true. What have you noticed in your skills, your knowledge? How have you improved over time from when you first started?
definitely having more flexibility and more grace with whatever's going on. Because after seeing a lot of my clients lose people they love, it's just fascinating to me. I could tell you 10 different stories and they all look different.
Hmm.
They look different not just because of who was lost, but because of how every one of those people processes through that time. And I wouldn't say that there's a better or worse. It's just being able to do what is healthy for you in
Hmm.
that situation. So for me, my church, my prayer group, a lot of women around me came up and really just filled me and prayed for me and took care of me in that way. And that's what I needed at that time. And I had so many friends that took care of my family and brought meals. And when I was traveling back and forth just before my mom passed, they were just taking care of my husband and my kids. I had, a 10-month-old when we went through that. So having people come up and just be able to help in those areas allowed me to focus more. And I think that was healthy at that time. And I know for me, that's what I needed. But my story wouldn't look like anybody else's
Right.
because other people wouldn't have that same experience. So just growing in my practice is recognizing um, good things that are happening, really giving accolades to my clients when they have those moments, celebrating with them. Sometimes it's just, I can talk about this person now without crying.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a celebration that is hard to have with other people. But I've had that with my clients where they sit and say, you know what? I think I can talk about this and not cry just instantly and be overwhelmed. And to see them take those steps, this has just been encouraging to me that it is a process and it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I know I think back to different things I've learned about trauma and how your body really does um, retain it. I mean, you experience trauma emotionally, spiritually, and physically, mentally. It's not just a feeling, but your body will hold it. And I love what you're explaining about how you need to have that tension released at times. And we usually don't know how to do that for ourselves.
No, and sometimes it takes that state where you have that deep inhale and exhale, and you can just let go of some of that. And it's interesting because chemically, those emotions that we're having, those are chemical reactions in our body. And it's brought on by our hormones and our brains. And those float around and they do get stored. They, just like you're saying, the body never forgets.
Hmm.
And so when you're going through something, you may not realize it, but your body is holding on to those hormones and um, it stores it in that muscle and that tension. And when you let that go, you can have a profound emotional release on the table just by stretching something out that's been tense since you've lost that person that you've loved. And there really is that mind body connection in that sense. And you can't really get rid of that. It's always just sitting there until you really get rid of it.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's why I have memories of, yeah, coming in tense, but then relaxing. And with the relaxing come the tears. But they're not sobbing, heavy tears. It's almost like everything just leaks out.
It is. It's a release. It's that chemical release when we find those things and start pushing that stuff back into the system. Um, you could be laying on the table and just have this sense of loss or
Hmm.
loneliness.
Hmm.
And that's not just because you're sitting there. It's because we've found a little pocket where you've stored those hormones and you've stored that stuff. And we're getting that to go away. So the next time it comes up, it's not quite as extreme. It's
Right,
just a little bit more like, an ebb and a flow instead of a crashing wave.
right, right. And it's true that you perform better when your mind performs better when your body is relaxed, right? I'm like a runner is supposed to not clench their fists and arms while they're running, right? For a reason, right? You
Yes.
you keep your body loose, keeps your mind engaged, and you do better when you take tests if you're not, all clenched up and stressed. So why wouldn't it be the case for anything
For
that
life
you're,
in general, for
yeah,
life in
for
general, just to not be in that fight or flight and trying to walk through that.
yes. So when you look back, what do you see helped you prepare for the loss of your mom? I mean, it was fast, but you had a few weeks to anticipate that this was going to happen. How did how did you prepare for that?
I I would just go back to the people who had walked before me in that kind of situation, and just really listening to them as far as giving heed to what they said. You can expect this, and you can expect this, and not thinking I could just go it alone. Like, well, I can deal with this. I can do all this. I'm the oldest kid. I'm the one who's going to have to be in charge of this, and I'll just muddle through. Instead of doing that, just really recognizing, hey, there's other people that have walked through this and know you're going to regret not doing A, B, or C. I really listened to those people. So when they said all this stuff that seems like it's important right now isn't going to be as important as you think. And
Hmm.
I just gave good heed to that. And so I was able to capture some moments at the end with my mom that I know others didn't, because they just didn't. They were worried about kind of the stuff of
Hmm.
it, that this wasn't done or that was done this way, or and really missed on that moment to be able to spend with them, um, just being there in that brief moment where we had to say goodbye.
Hmm. Yeah, that you're hitting on one of the main pillars that I also completely believe that grief is more manageable in community.
Definitely. And that's the last thing you want when
Mm,
you're grieving. It seems like you're like, I don't want people to see me cry. I don't want, I'm a strong person and I can get through this. And it's so counterintuitive to reach out and surround yourself with people.
hmm. Right, right. And if you're lucky, you're already part of a community like you were that knows what's going on with you. But if not, then it might take some courage, but it's going to be a lot better by reaching out, you know?
It's yes, it's definitely the best thing. And just really find somebody who's willing to just sit in silence, even with you. And that, like I said, there's no real expectations and that will pray for you. Um, Even just a text message to people that are grieving. I'm thinking about you.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking about you today. You crossed my mind today. We shouldn't discount those promptings when we have them because you don't know what that means to the person on the other side.
Well, it's a way that you stop that flowing river for a second, right? It's a way that you say, no, life hasn't. We're not just passing you by. We see you. We'll stay here in this moment with you.
Yes. Yes.
What role has your faith played?
For me personally, and just overall, I still rely on it. My mom's been gone for 12 years, but I still rely on my faith, knowing that I will see her again and that that wasn't goodbye. And also knowing that there were some really great things that she taught me before she was gone. And I think it took me a while to start to see that through the sadness that, were these silly and funny moments that I have as memories that I get to recreate with my own kids, even
Mm,
though she's not here. And um, just some of those things that I know wholeheartedly we will see each other again. That was goodbye for now. And I just cannot say how extraordinary that is, what a blessing that is, even in, the sadness and the worry and the stress of it. She keeps saying to me, because she always did this. I would call her as a teenager, I called her as a young adult, and she would say, "Honey, this too shall pass."
mm,
And I feel like this life without her, this too shall pass, and we're going to be together again.
right. That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. She sounds extraordinary.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, for letting me remember her in that way.
Well, so um, final question. What do you think it means to grieve well?
Grieving well for me personally was letting go of expectations. Just that idea that I had to be somewhere or be someone or do something, and that I could take my time and do what I needed to do. Um, when you have a servant's heart, it's very hard to be served. And so I was humbled by all of the people around me that were willing to do that, and just realizing it's okay to be the one on the receiving end of that. It's okay to have people um, cook for you, take care of your family, love on your kids. It that's okay. So that expectation that we have of trying to still be paddling in the river and grieve at the same time. It's okay to park in the driveway. If that's all the further you get, it's okay.
Right. Right. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing that and definitely looking forward to my next massage.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate talking to you.
Okay. Thanks.